So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome and welcome back here at BSN Network. Today, we'll be back here at BSN Arc. This is the BSN Arc podcast here today. It is Monday, September 7th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully you did as well. I had a good weekend. It is Monday. Labor Day weekend. It is Labor Day. So obviously you do have today off usually, but I'm just doing a pod today. So there's a lot of sports to get to. Today, a lot of contract signings for the NFL, a lot of big contracts that were signed this weekend in the NFL. Yankees continue to struggle. Absolutely just continue to get whooped. They lose 3 out of 4 to the Orioles. We now play up against a team that I never thought I'd be saying this, but a team that we were actually fighting for a playoff spot in the Toronto Blue Jays. Never thought I'd be saying that, but we are now with the Toronto Blue Jays fighting for that second place in the AL East. I never thought I'd be saying that after our 8-1 start, but in fact, I am sitting here today saying that. So, problems have occurred for the Yankees. Issues lead into this happening. Yankees are really struggling. Can't seem to get our act together. 21-19 on the season. Really playing horrible. So, we'll talk about that coming up later on the podcast. Mets absolutely, utterly demolished the Phillies yesterday. Islanders start their series, and college football games. College football looked good. It looked very good. And I said this to people when I was watching the games. It looked amazing. It didn't look like you were playing during the virus. It did not look anything like that. As a matter of fact, you turn that game on and turn on a game that wasn't played during the virus, you blindfold yourself, you wouldn't be able to tell. It sounded good, and it looked good. Besides coaches wearing masks on the sidelines, when you're really looking at the play, there's really nothing crazy. There's really nothing crazy. It looks like a college football game. And even though the stands were socially distant and, not many people there, still, it looked like a pretty packed house, especially in that Marshall game. So it looked very good, sounded very good. And I think college football's got big things ahead because I think the ratings went up, and I really believe that it's going to succeed because it looks good and sounds good. So college football went well. So we'll talk about that later on the podcast, but this is what I got for the podcast today. We got Deshaun Watson and the Texans. He signed a huge deal. Deshaun Watson, Texans agreed to a 4-year, $160 million contract extension. Then we have Tre'Davious White, and the Bills / NFL. Tre'Davious White signed another huge contract extension with the Bills, makes him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. I'll talk about why I like that deal as well in the next segment. I like it's a good deal for the Bills. For Jets, it's not a good deal because that means that he has to halt the Jets for another 4 years, which is technically another 8 games. So we'll talk about that coming up in the second segment. Then cap it off the podcast: Yankees, Mets, Islanders, and college football. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Deshaun Watson, Texans agree to reported 4-year, $160 million contract, $160 million contract extension. I've said this multiple times. There are so many players getting contract extensions this year. I don't remember it being this much last season. I really don't. I don't remember it being that much. As a quick note here, really quick note. Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Titans. I know he signed with the Titans. I'm going to probably talk about that tomorrow, Keenan Allen tomorrow, stuff like that. There's so much news on all these contract extensions. The amount of players that got a contract extension within the past 2 days is just insane. So I'm spreading it across different days is what I'm just trying to say. So back to my point with the contract extensions. It's insane with all these contract extensions. Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Keenan Allen, Tre'Davious White, some other people, some more and more players. It is unbelievable how many players, and these aren't like little contract extensions. I'm not talking about small, 1-year contract extension worth $1 million. Oh, that's a lot of money, but I'm talking about like years and money wise and sports wise. I'm not talking about a small 1-year contract extension, right? I'm not talking about one of those small contracts. I'm talking about big 4 or 5 years, $100 million, these big luscious contracts that players are signing. I mean, just absolutely unbelievable. I mean, Tre'Davious White of the Buffalo Bills, it's $70 million is his contract. He's getting $55 million guaranteed. So that is his guaranteed money. No matter if he retires today, that is his guaranteed money is $55 million. That is huge. That means $70 million and $55, that's only $15 million off from getting all $70 million of it. Depends on how he does. He could very well get all $70 million. It is crazy what some of these contracts are like. And do I agree with them? Yes, some of them. Oh, Joe Mixon, he's another one. Got a huge contract. He's one of the top paid running backs in the league, and I don't think he's all that. Don't get me wrong. These contracts are huge. I understand. A lot of people are like, oh, these players shouldn't be getting paid this much. Different story, different day. I understand that. But when you're the skill of like a Deshaun Watson or a Tre'Davious White or a Keenan Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Chris Jones or a Travis Kelce or a George Kittle, when you're at that high a level, it's insane. I mean, you're going to get the money. I agree with, Bosa. He's another one. He got his money as well. I agree with most of these contracts, most of them, because all these contracts are coming from, you could make the argument they're the best player at their position, right? Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, best player at quarterback, in my opinion. Travis Kelce, probably the second best tight end, but there's argument there. George Kittle, I think he's the best tight end in the league, right? There's argument there. Chris Jones, one of the better defensive linemen in the league. Keenan Allen, probably the best receiver on the Chargers, and could make the argument he's a top 5 receiver in the league right now. Bosa could make the argument he's one of the better defensive linemen in the league as well, right? A lot of these guys that are getting their contracts are top players in the league. As for Joe Mixon, and this is Joe Mixon and Budda Baker, even Budda Baker. I don't think Budda Baker's a top 5 safety in the league. I don't think Joe Mixon's a top 10 running back in the league. I don't think they're all that good. But now you look at Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, top 5 quarterback, and he's getting his money. And I agree with this deal because he is so good. He's a good runner. He's a good thrower. He's got an arm. He's accurate. He's smart. Part of the reason I think he's so smart in football is because of the fact that he played with Clemson. A lot of those players that come out of Clemson are very good. Very good. Clemson's one of the best football schools out there. He came from Clemson, was successful at Clemson, came to Houston, tore his ACL, now is back, and he's just been storming it. He's been absolutely dominating. And I think Deshaun Watson, in a way, has been a little bit underrated his first couple years of his career. I think he's kind of flown a little bit under the radar. I think Mahomes is kind of the big Mahomes and Jackson, and Mahomes, Jackson, Russell Wilson, and all of them are kind of the big things. I think that's because all of them have had not playoff success, but they've all made it deep in the playoffs, right? Meaning Jackson was, they're going in as a number 1 seed in the playoffs. Mahomes won a Super Bowl already. Wilson's already won a Super Bowl, and every year they're making the playoffs, right? If you follow what I'm saying, Deshaun Watson, now you could say the same thing with Jackson. He hasn't had that playoff success. Jackson hasn't had that playoff success, but last season they were the talk of the NFL, 14-2 going in as a number 1 seed. Deshaun Watson, they were not a 1 seed, they were not 14-2, and they kind of just went into the playoffs, right? They weren't really the talk of the NFL. So, Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, they're all kind of the talk of the league. Deshaun Watson's a little bit of flown under the radar. Mahomes is the big guy. Then it goes Jackson, and Wilson, then Brees, and then kind of Watson. It's kind of a popularity contest in a way. Because Brees is just a big name because he's been around the NFL for a long time. He's a big name in general. Mahomes is just Mahomes. He's one of the best athletes at this very moment in all the sports. And Jackson's just a running back at a quarterback position. Russell Wilson's just always been good. And then you have Deshaun Watson, who is kind of a little bit under the radar. I wouldn't say. Now he gets his moments. He gets his highlights put on the top plays and stuff, and he gets his moments. But he's not like Patrick Mahomes or any of them, where they're all like, "Oh, Pat, did you see Patrick Mahomes' play? Did you see this no-look throw? Did you see this 40, 50, 60-yard bomb down the field?" All right, Watson kind of just goes his own way and does his own thing. Right, all these guys went in last season as number 1 seeds, got the first-round bye. Watson had to play a wild card game. Right, so if you follow what I'm saying, I think Watson is a little bit under the radar in regards to some of these players. But I think Watson really deserves this money. I do. I think this deal's an A. First off, you're locking up your franchise quarterback for another 4 years. You're locking him up. You're not taking my franchise quarterback for another 4 years. I think he'll be worth every penny because I think it'll be worth every little bit of it because of what he's shown throughout his first couple years of his career. And I'm not a big, and I'll talk about this in the Tre'Davious White deal next, I'm not a huge fan of when somebody gives you a huge contract based off of one season, which is what I'm going to tell you in the Tre'Davious White deal. I think it's a good deal, but I think sometimes deals like that are risky because it was one season. You don't know if they're going to be able to bounce back. You don't know if they're going to have the same season. Deshaun Watson has proven himself over a couple seasons. Mahomes has proven himself. Brees has proven himself. Wilson has proven himself, right? Keenan Allen has proven himself. Kittle has proven himself, right? That's what I like about this Watson deal is he's proven himself. He came back from that torn ACL and has been nothing but a success for this Texans team. I think he's been everything and some for this Texans team. Sorry, I think that's really the big deal with him. That's why I'm going to talk about the Tre'Davious White deal coming up next. Tre'Davious White had one very good season last year. Now they're giving him all this money. Those deals sometimes can be a little risky just because of the fact that they haven't played much. I mean, yes, they played one. They had one very good season, but other than that, they haven't really. You don't know what they're going to do that next season. So you're going to give him all that. You're going to kind of give all that money on one season and hope that he does the same thing. But Watson, another thing with Watson, he's been able to stay healthy. And I know this might sound outrageous, but besides the torn ACL, he hasn't had much injuries. Besides the torn ACL, which I know is probably like a huge blow, but the torn ACL happened before he could even play his first game. He had the torn ACL. Other than that, he's been able to stay healthy, and he's been able to stay healthy when it matters most. Besides that one injury, he missed all of his rookie year. He's been able to stay healthy. He's been able to really just play well. This year will be a huge year for Deshaun Watson. I think this is a big year for him to show that he doesn't need that true number one receiver. He doesn't need a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. He doesn't need a guy that's 6'6", that's just gonna jump up and grab every ball every time. I think that's a little bit of a proving year for him. I think a lot of players throughout the league, this is a proven year for them. Belichick, Brady, trying to prove themselves that they don't need each other. Belichick's trying to prove that he could do it without Brady. Brady's trying to prove that he could do it without Belichick. Same thing with Watson. Watson's trying to prove that he could do it without DeAndre. DeAndre's trying to prove that he could do it without Watson. I think a lot of people are more onto the Watson being a little iffy just because DeAndre Hopkins has a good quarterback anyway in Arizona. Deshaun Watson doesn't have that true number one receiver now, which I think is going to be huge to see. Is he going to be able to live up to this $160 million contract with not a true number one receiver? With a guy in Will Fuller who's not going to get you insane plays, but he's Same thing, I'm pretty sure Kenny Stills is one of them. You have David Johnson now as a running back, helps you out a little bit. I think this is going to be a big year for Deshaun Watson. I think this is a year to prove himself that he says, I don't need no crazy number one threat. I don't need, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in all the NFL, which is DeAndre Hopkins. So, Deshaun Watson, I think it's a big year. But Deshaun Watson got paid $160 million. I give this deal an A. The reason I don't give it an A+, I don't usually give too many A+. I don't even know the last time I gave it an A+. It's just because I just want to see what he does this season. I don't think it's early to give him all the money, but I just think, this season could very well be a little bit of a rocky year for Deshaun Watson because he doesn't have that number one threat. I think this is going to be a huge year, like I said multiple times already today on the podcast. This is going to be a huge year of proving himself. I don't need a number one receiver. I don't need a DeAndre Hopkins. I don't need him. I could go out there and do it with David Johnson as my running back, Will Fuller as one of my receivers, right? I could do that. I don't need DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's going to be a big year for him. And what makes Deshaun Watson so special, too, is his running ability. That's another reason why. A lot of these quarterbacks nowadays that are just pocket passers, they're not a very good runner. They don't run much. They need a good receiver. That's why Darnold has not been able to succeed what we've expected him to do. Because he's not a running quarterback, and he hasn't had a true number one receiver. So, this is going to be a big, interesting season for Watson. But I give this deal a big yes. I think this was the right move for the Texans. They're spending their money wisely on what probably will be their franchise quarterback. And has already led them to playoff appearances. They just haven't been able to get to that next level. I think their coach has made some questionable moves. I think their defense is good, not great. I think their offense is very, very good. I think that they have a couple pieces missing, but other than that, I think this team could very well, this team every year is a contender for division winner or even just making the playoffs. This is just a very good team. So this is actually just breaking news. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be starting for the Miami Dolphins week 1. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be starting for the Miami Dolphins week 1. Pretty crazy for that, I'll tell you that for sure. So that's some breaking news that just came in. It's actually pretty surprising to me. I'm not crazy surprised because Tua can learn behind what is a veteran and has been in this league a long, long time in Fitzpatrick. But what surprises me is everybody's talking so highly about Tua looks so healthy, how he looks so ready, and he's not even going to start. Interesting. But Deshaun Watson, Texans agreed to a reported 4-year, $160 million contract extension. Quarterback Deshaun Watson signed a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with the Houston Texans on Saturday. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reported the terms of the deal is the second largest pact in NFL history, behind only Patrick Mahomes' 12-year, $503 million contract. Watson confirmed an agreement had been received in a statement on Twitter. More glory, Houston, that's all he wrote. Watson, 24, led the Texans to the AFC South title and a divisional round playoff appearance in 2019. His efforts in the wild card catapulted Houston past the Buffalo Bills despite a 16-0 second-half deficit. Watson has been sensational in his Texans uniform, completing 66.8% of his passes for 71 touchdowns and 29 interceptions in 3 seasons. He also rushed for 1,233 yards on 217 attempts with 14 more scores. Very good rushing quarterback. Another one, very under the radar. A lot of people talk about your Jacksons, your Wilsons, a pretty good rushing quarterback. I feel like Watson a little bit flies under the radar a little bit. The former Clemson star slipped to 12th in the 2017 draft, even though he had led the Tigers to the program's second national championship in a come-from-behind win over Alabama that January. Houston traded up with the Browns to select him, and that move has turned out to be one of the best draft day deals in recent memory. Watson formed an excellent rapport with former number 1 wideout DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best at his position in the game today. However, Hopkins is now an Arizona Cardinal after the March trade that netted the Texans running back David Johnson. Hopkins will be missed, but Watson chemistry Will Fuller has notably resulted in 14 touchdowns, just 22 games played together over 3 years. The one problem with Will Fuller is he's very inconsistent. Very inconsistent. Hopkins, every game gives you a couple nice catches and probably a touchdown. Will Fuller, very inconsistent. Gives you 3 touchdowns one game, the next game he'll give you 20 yards. Very inconsistent. If he can turn consistent, he can very well be a good receiver for them. The magic started early in Watson's career as he lit up the league for 21 touchdowns, 19 passing, 2 rushing in just 7 games in 2017, but he suffered a torn ACL in practice, ending his season with the Texans at 3-4 and within striking distance of a playoff spot. Houston finished 4-12. They really struggled there at the end of the stretch. Houston looked great in 2018, leading Texans to 11-5 mark in the AFC South title. He earned a Pro Bowl by accounting for 31 touchdowns, 26 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing, and completing 68.3% of his passes and averaging 8.2 yards per pass attempt. The Texans lost 21-7 to the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC wildcard round, but Watson bounced back in 2018 with 26 passing touchdowns and 7 rushing scores en route for a second straight Pro Bowl campaign. Watson had found success despite a litany of injuries to his wideout core, namely Fuller, who suffered a season-ending torn ACL in 2018, and he was limited to 11 games last season because of hamstring and groin injuries. The offensive line has also struggled at times, the Football Outsiders ranking it the bottom 6 in adjusted sack rate 2017, 2018, 2019. The unit bottomed out in 2018. Watson has been one of the catalysts for the Texans' recent success, so there's no question he deserved a long-term commitment and is now signed through 2025. Like I said, he's a good quarterback. for a decent team. Very good quarterback for a decent team. And that's what I find so great about Watson. And that's why I said their offense is good. Their defense is good. They're good. They're not amazing. They make the playoffs, but they're nothing special. I mean, you just heard it there. I mean, this is facts. That their offensive line isn't the greatest. You know? It just is what it is. And I think I think their offensive line struggled, but, like I said, I think it's normal. I think this is normal for the Texans to kind of have this kind of a good team. Because over the years, they've had a good team. They've never were able to really get to that complete promised land, but every year they give their fans something to cheer about. Every year they give them, okay, here's a 10-6 record, here's 11-5. We might go out in the division series, but we made the playoffs. Every year they're a consistent team, they just can't get to that final level. And that's another thing. I think that's why in a little bit of a way, Deshaun Watson flies a little bit under the radar. Mahomes is a big name, the Chiefs, Super Bowl champions, big name team, Andy Reid, all that. Everybody knows about him, right? They get there. They win a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson, Ravens, Harbaugh, Jackson, just a big name in general. Everybody knows about the Ravens and, making the Super Bowl, Ray Lewis, history, blah, blah, blah. They make the playoffs. Russell Wilson, Seahawks. Everybody knows the Seahawks. Every year they're making the playoffs. Every single year the Seahawks make the playoffs. Won a Super Bowl, just so consistent, all that good stuff. Russell Wilson. Drew Brees, Super Bowl champions. Saints are kind of known for their crybaby in a way. Make the playoffs every year, but in a way, they're not, no. But in a way, Super Bowl champion, Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, blah, 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 Saints. Deshaun Watson, very good quarterback. And then you look at the Texans, and they're not a special team. They're not a Chiefs. They're not a Ravens. They're not a Seahawks. They're not a Saints. They're a good, very good team that makes the playoffs but can't get to that promised land. We could say the same thing about the Ravens, but the Ravens are awfully close. I think a lot of people would probably think the Ravens are closer than the Texans. So, it is what I'm going to try to say is I think this is the right move. I think this is definitely the right move for the Texans. I just want to see what he does without Hopkins. That's what I really want to see. That is my true test. I want to see what he does without Hopkins. Because Hopkins is the best receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. I want to see what he does without Hopkins. Because that's a big blow, not having the best receiver in the NFL. That ain't we just lost our best receiver and the best receiver in the league. No. That ain't no small loss. That is your number one target. That is probably one of the better players in all the league. DeAndre Hopkins. You did not lose no average. All right, he's good. He'll produce. If anything, you're getting that as your number one. Will Fuller, average. He'll produce sometimes. Nothing crazy. But you did lose a big, big piece in DeAndre Hopkins. So I just want to see what he does there. I think it's going to be a big proving year. He's going to try to prove himself this year. So, Deshaun Watson, Texans agreed to a reported 4-year, $160 million contract extension. You read some of the stats earlier. I kind of just read them. I mean, it is pretty crazy. He's a Pro Bowler, 60 point. He's high 60s in pass completion. Touchdowns are big. Interceptions are very low. 71 touchdowns in his career and only 23 interceptions throughout his career. Very low interceptions, which is what you want in a franchise quarterback. Keep those interceptions low. You see what they did without him. They went 4-12 with him. They're making playoffs. They're making good plays. Deshaun Watson, I said it. The year the Jets actually took Jamal Adams, and this might sound crazy because I'm such a Jamal Adams fan. I really like Jamal Adams. The year the Jets took Jamal Adams, I was not happy at first when we took Adams. I was hoping we were going to take Watson. I was really, really, really hoping we were going to take Watson. Hindsight 2020, we made the right move, but also hindsight 2020, we made the wrong move. Because guess who's left? Adams. Adams was very good. Watson has been very good. Adams is now gone. Watson's still there. So, who knows? But who knows what would have all happened with the whole Jets. But that is a story. Every time somebody talks about Deshaun Watson, I always think of it. I was not happy when the Jets drafted Jamal Adams. I was not happy. I was not happy at all. until, a couple days, not even a couple days. It just took a little bit until he started to play very, very well. It didn't take till the regular season until I started to realize, okay, we actually got a pretty good player, but we did miss out on probably the best quarterback in all of college football and the best quarterback, maybe one of the best quarterbacks in that draft. We did miss out on him. I was like, okay, that's a problem. But, we kind of got a Jamal Adams who was no huge name coming out of college. We drafted him at the 6th pick. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Sure enough, it was one of the best moves we made. Now he's gone, but in his 3 years he was with us, he was unreal. Probably our best defensive player in the 3 years he was with us. So I think it's a lot of. I think it's going to be a lot of. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Watson does. And watch out, people. It's Monday. Thursday Night Football is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They got practice today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and then they got a game Thursday night. So watch out. And it's game week. It is Buffalo week for the New York Jets. It is our practice now. It is officially game day week. Week yesterday was the NFL season. 6 days until the NFL season starts up. We're counting down. Technically, 3 days? But for the Jets, it is 6 days until the NFL season. It's our first full week of practice. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. So that's good. But Watson, good deal for the Texans. There's gonna be a year for him to really be like, I don't need no star receiver. I can do it myself. I can do it with my legs and with my arm. So next up, we have Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White signing a big deal. Big deal. With the Buffalo Bills. Coming up next. So, Tre'Davious White signs a pretty big deal. Very big deal. Not no pretty big deal or small deal. Tre'Davious White, Bills agree to a reported $70 million contract, highest paid cornerback in the NFL. So, I said this, he's probably the second best cornerback in the league. I don't know if there's beatable to Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore is pretty big. You wonder what if the Bills would have kept Gilmore. You could have been talking about the best cornerbacking core in all of the league and one of the best secondaries in all of the league. You have Gilmore and Tre'Davious White. That is a nightmare to defenses. So Tre'Davious White has signed a huge deal with the Buffalo Bills. Now, this deal will get tested right away week 1 against the New York Jets. That's not a very hard opponent. That's not a very hard opponent to beat. That's not an opponent that you should be worried about. Believe me, I'm a Jets fan. I've watched him for years now. Been a Jets fan my whole life. Not an opponent you should be worried about. So he's going to be getting this big $70 million contract. They're going to be like, is he worth it? Week 1, they got to play the Jets. So he will prove himself against the Jets. The real test is the other weeks when you play the Seahawks. I think they play the Seahawks. When you got to play teams like the feisty teams or teams that you think don't possibly have a chance. That's going to be the true test. But the Bills play the Jets, and like I said, I hate the Bills this week. I absolutely hate them. I hate them this week. Don't like them. Don't like them at all. I just want to give this deal not a good grade just because I don't like the Bills this week. They're playing the Jets. Don't like the Bills this week. Everything about them. After Sunday, I won't like the Niners. So, but yeah, like I said, NFL season's right here. Like, NFL season starting. I know it might sound crazy to many of you. I mean, the college football season, too, it just randomly came up on us. Like, the college football season just came right up on us. Like, I mean, we were sitting August-ish, like, oh, is there going to even be a season? 2 weeks later, we're like, oh, my gosh, we're already in the prime of the season. We're playing games. The college football season ran right up on us, and so does the NFL. The NFL is... I'll tell you what, man, and the NFL says they have a plan. They says they have a complete plan in place. If a team can't play a game 1 week, they said they have a complete plan. Now, the NFL has more flexibility than the MLB because the NFL plays once a week. MLB plays, 7 times a week pretty much? So the NFL, if you can't play on a Sunday, you could very well make that game up on like a Tuesday or Wednesday. Yes, that's odd, but you don't have to wait till, and then you don't have to play a game until, it's not like, it's not like you're going to miss 5 games. Like the MLB, you could very well miss like 6-7 games because you're off for a week. If the NFL plays Sunday, realize they have a case on Monday, and like, oh no, we got a quarantine, you could very well still play let's just say, or maybe you have a case on Sunday. You can't play that Monday night game. Maybe if they get done with it in 3-4 days, you could play that Monday night game on like a Wednesday. So NFL has more flexibility with their schedule and stuff like that. But NFL season starting like this is the NFL. Like this is the week of the NFL season. Like the first game's Thursday night. The Jets Bills play 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Like the NFL season starting up. Like there ain't no going back. Tre'Davious White, Bills agreed to $70 million contract, highest paid cornerback in the NFL. I mean, there's not much to say about this. I mean, Tre'Davious White had an unbelievable year last year. Unbelievable. I mean, he was a lockdown defender. This is a guy that was an average cornerback last season. They were putting him on the team's number one receivers. They were putting him on, number one very good receivers. He's a very good cornerback, very, very good overall player, very smart. He brings a lot of comedy to the sport, which is another thing I like about him. If you watch him, he brings a lot of kind of funny stuff to the sport. I like the way he plays the game. He plays it loose. He plays the game very loose. He kind of just goes out there and just has fun. He just, doesn't care. Okay, all right, just goes out there and have fun. But Tre'Davious White, I agree with this deal. Now, the one problem I have with the deal, and I said it earlier on in the podcast, is the money, and he had one great year. He had one amazing year last year. He's been good, one amazing year. So, here's the deal. Right? Tre'Davious White last season had an amazing year. Don't get me wrong. He had an unbelievable year. I mean, he was a lockdown defender. I mean, I said this on the podcast when he said that he was going to play this NFL season. I said it on the podcast. This is big for the Bills. Here's the one problem with getting all this money in his contract. He's had one amazing year. I like to always see what players can do after that one amazing year, right? Because you could have an absolute amazing year. You could have an amazing year. Be like, oh my gosh, just an amazing year. And then come back next year and be a one-year wonder. Right? It's kind of like that situation. You give them all the money. You're like, oh, yeah, you had an amazing year. Let's make you the highest paid player at this position. Give them all the money. All of a sudden, it's like a one-year wonder. It's like a one-year wonder situation. So that is the one thing I would say about Tre'Davious White here. I'm not saying that he's going to be a one-year wonder, but I give this deal an A. What's holding me back from giving it all that big A+, all that good stuff, is the fact that he had one amazing year. I want to see if he can keep that up. Because, yeah, he had one amazing year. That was last year, though. He could very well come back, and that could be a one-year wonder. You see a lot of those in sports. That was a big thing with Gio Urshela this season. I know I always go back to him, but it's true. I mean, that has to be one of the biggest one-year. That has to be the biggest thing ever in all of the MLB. I mean, it's crazy. You're talking about a guy that's barely played, low A ball his whole career, played a little bit with the Indians, really was not good. Then all of a sudden came to the Yankees and just exploded with us. And all of a sudden, we're talking, oh my gosh, he's our starting third baseman. This season he's been good, not amazing like he was last year, but he's been good. He's gotten injured with the elbow, and who knows what's happening next with this whole Yankees team in general. But this is a Bills team that's very good. He had a very good season, but I want to see if he can keep it up. That's the big thing. That is really just a big thing. I think he will be able to, but you got to watch out. Because those 1 years could really get people excited. He had a great first year. Then let's pay him. No, you don't do that. You got to see. That's kind of what the Chiefs did in a way. It's kind of what the Chiefs did. Mahomes had an amazing 50-touchdown year. Everybody was hyping him up. Oh, my gosh. Yes, they came one play pretty much short of making the Super Bowl. Oh, my gosh, we're insane. They didn't pay him that year. Because maybe the Chiefs are smart. They kind of were thinking, all right, we want to make sure that this is a continued thing. Last season absolutely tore it up. I think he should have won another MVP. That wasn't the case. Won the Super Bowl MVP, all that good stuff. They pay him. Because now they understand, all right, this guy's done 2 years of just unbelievable, almost non-human stuff. Let's pay him. The Bills, on the other hand, had an amazing year. Let's pay him. Could be a little bit risky, but I agree with the deal. I agree with it. The one problem with it is he had one amazing year. The other years were good, not worth $70 million. Last season, worth $70 million, 55 guaranteed. This year, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think he'll have a good year this year. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, he's going to have a good week. He's going to have a good game week 1. That's all I know. Because he's playing the Jets. Tre'Davious White, Bills agree to a reported $70 million contract, highest paid cornerback in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills in 2019 All-Pro Tre'Davious White have agreed to a 4-year, $70 million contract extension, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. Schefter noted the deal includes $55 million in guaranteed money. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN added the extension will make White the league's highest-paid cornerback. Kevin Connor and Robert Brown, White's agents, confirmed the deal per Schefter. The move comes as White had a team option for 2021 before he'd be eligible for free agency in 2022. Speaking with the WGR Sports Radio 550 in March, General Manager Brandon Beam acknowledged the team wanted to sign 25-year-old to a new contract. However, nailing down the particulars could prove tricky. HT could prove tricky. HT Bills beat writer Chris Brown. Any guy that's been in Trey's situation that we went back, and obviously Trey's a guy we love and we want back. We want back there. We want back again. You do look and try and find what the value is, and it's hard. It can sometimes be hard for agents to be because they're trying to look at what the market is today versus what's it going to be in 2 years. Do they want to play it out? Do they want security now? Buffalo selected White with the 27th overall pick of 2017 draft, and he put together a solid season 2017-2018. Then came his 2019 breakout. He finished with 58 tackles and tied for first in the NFL in interceptions with 6. Tre'Davious White. Bills, that's kind of just a Twitter thing. I'm not really going to read that, though. As team, the Bills allowed the fourth fewest yards, 195.2, and the third lowest opponent passer rating, 78.8. They were also fifth in pass defense, DVOA, defensive adjusted value over average per Football Outsiders. Bean alluded the fact that finding this specific dollar value for White wasn't quite straightforward. He built a solid reputation for himself before his monster 2019 campaign. By waiting, the Bills could see whether last year was a representative of his performance going forward, or if he'll regress slightly from being one of the league's top 3 or 4 best cornerbacks to one of the top 10 at the position. The risk behind his slow play was the White's eventual price tag would potentially only climb higher. Darius Slay and Byron Jones helped raise the bar for cornerbacks this past offseason. By virtue of their deals with the Philadelphia Eagles and Miami Dolphins, respectively, Slay $16.7 million and Jones $16.5 million are the top 2 at the position in average salary per Sport Track. Or Spot Track, my bad. Jalen Ramsey is poised to reset the market as he winds down his contract with the Los Angeles Rams. Given his age 25 and his track record, 3 Pro Bowl appearances and 1 All-Pro nod, Ramsey certainly eclipses Slay's yearly number. The one sure thing was the Buffalo wouldn't lose White upon the expiration of his rookie deal in the same way Stephon Gilmore bolted for the New England Patriots in 2017. Gilmore hadn't reached his first Pro Bowl until the 5th year in the league, and he didn't exactly sound like someone who banging down the Bills' door to re-sign when he was poised to hit the open market. ESPN's Mike Rodak explained how things worked for the team anyway. White, for example, came into help replace Gilmore. Although Gilmore was the Defensive Player of the Year, its trade to Bills would probably make again the benefit of hindsight. White quickly became a cornerstone of Buffalo's secondary, and now he has the contract keeping him on the team for a long haul. It's true, though. It's the truth. Gilmore was not very good with the Bills. He wasn't anything crazy good with the Bills. It was not until he got to the Patriots, got in that system where people were like, okay, this guy can play. So Buffalo Bills are paying up, giving White the money. I think I agree with this deal. I think White's a very good player. He could do zone, could do man. He's good. He's a good player. And I think in a way, White's a little underrated too. I think a lot of people will pay attention to the old Gilmore, the New England Patriots, everything like that. And White's another player kind of flying a little bit under the radar. Having a quality, very good year, and people are like, oh, did you see this Gilmore play? Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see this? But now, he ain't no name, small name. At least his contract isn't small anymore. $55 million guaranteed, $70 million. And that's another point. Like, I never expected, especially with the whole virus going on, and, like, even the MLB had this situation, too, where, with all the whole virus and not teams, without the revenue loss and stuff like that, teams, there was rumors that teams wouldn't really do stuff that much because of the revenue loss and the money and stuff. This year, with all this virus and with all, the revenue loss that they're going to have, they're paying players big-time money. I mean, big-time cash. $70 million, $103 million, $160 million, just some of the big contracts. It is huge. And I mean, you're talking about players that are just randomly out of the blue. I mean, I would not have thought that Joe Mixon would have got this huge extension, that Tre'Davious White would have got this huge extension. White I kind of saw coming, especially if he had another good year this year. But they went on it. They really did. And I think that's another thing, too, because if he has another good this year, he has an opt-out and stuff like that next year, that could get interesting. Because now teams might be looking for him. Teams might be like, hey, jump on this, do this, do this, do this. That could get interesting. I think they really just want to lock him up and make sure that he was with them for those next seasons. So, Buffalo Bills signed Tre'Davious White to a huge contract extension. He will be with the Bills for another couple of seasons. Now we move on to the Yankees games and the tough games like that. Frustrating. Just frustrating. Yankees lose yet another game. They play today, 6:37 Eastern Standard Time. We lose yet another game. Yankees lose 5-1. We had 1 run, 4 hits, 2 errors. Baltimore had 5 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. I mean, you can't win a game with 4 hits. They had 1 hit that game going into, the 7th inning. You can't win a game. You can't possibly win a game with 4 hits. And you know who had 3 of the 4 of those hits? Was Andujar. He went 3 for 4, 2 singles and a triple. And then Hicks had a little bloop single. LeMahieu 0 for 4, Voit 0 for 3 with a walk, Gardner 0 for 4, Frazier 0 for 3 with a run scored and a walk, Ford 0 for 4, Andujar 3 for 4, Talkman 0 for 1 with a walk, Hicks 1 for 2, Kratz 0 for 4 with a RBI, Wade 0 for 2, Torres 0 for 1, Estrada 0 for 0, Tanaka 5 1/3, 6 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, Sessa 2/3, 2 hits, no earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, Nick Nelson 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned, no walked, 4 strikeouts. So, Nick Nelson's actually been pretty good for us. But the Yankees lose again. It's getting to the point now where I believe that the Yankees have hit rock bottom. And I hope this is the rock bottom. And I hope this is rock bottom. I know that might sound crazy to say I hope this is rock bottom. The reason I hope this is rock bottom, because if this isn't rock bottom, then what is? Do we just keep going down and down and down and down and down? Hope this is rock bottom so that now we can start to come our way up. People, we lose another 3 games. We're under 500. I mean, you're talking about possibly missing the playoffs in one of the easiest years to make the playoffs when more than half the league makes it. Talking about potentially losing. We people are fighting with a team that lost 103 games last season, a team that lost, I think, 130 last season. We're fighting with the Tigers and the Orioles for that 8th spot. I mean, you're talking all of a sudden. We're talking now all of a sudden like we have to win in order to actually get in. I think the Yankees they actually made a good point yesterday. It was almost like when we started off 8-1, they're like, okay, we're gonna make the playoffs. Now we're slacking. We're 21-19. It's horrible. It really is horrible. The Yankees can't get anything going. I mean, absolutely anything. I mean, our hitting's horrible. Our pitching isn't anything crazy special. I mean, when you're in a pitcher, when you're pitching a game and you have absolutely no run support, I mean, I don't expect I can't help you. I'm sorry. I know how that feels too because I pitch. I've sometimes been in games where I'm pitching good. I'm pitching very good. I'm going 3-4 innings. I've got no runs. And we're just not hitting, and we're not getting runs, and I'm all of a sudden find myself 6th inning where I'm tired and stuff, and I'm still throwing. I'm no runs. I literally can't let up a run. I have no run support. And there's times where you have that, and the Yankees haven't had that for their pitchers in the past couple of days. I mean, people, it's bad how bad we are. I mean, against his Rays, the back-to-back days we scored 1 run. 1 run on Saturday, 1 run yesterday. And you look at the games we're winning, 6 runs, right? We lost by 7 runs. We were winning by 5 runs. 5 runs, right? 8 runs, right? We're not winning by 1 run. Our pitching has been good, and I know a lot of people are like, well, you're not winning by 1 run. Well, why can't your pitching give you 9 scoreless innings? It's not that easy. It's not that easy. Our hitting's horrible. I mean, you can't expect to win a game. 5 runs is manageable. Even some of these games when we're down 3-0, like, that's manageable. I mean, you could definitely, and then the days that we score 4 runs, our pitching's off. You know, the days that we score 7 runs, we lose 9-7, right? You know, we just can't seem to get on the same page same day. And I think Boone's got to really, really figure this out. I think the Yankees are falling. They're falling. They're just falling right now. We were up here going into our 10th game of the season, riding high. We were all the way up here. We were up here. When Yankees fans were talking about possibly literally there was talks about possibly how good we were playing, about how we could very well win like 50 games. We could very well go like 51-9 or something. There was literally talks about, because that's how good we were playing. And all of a sudden, we're going. All right. We run into a little bit of a slump. It was like 8-3, 8-4-ish. We're like, all right, it's okay. Now we're just going down. And, you know, sometimes you'll hit a little bit of an up, down. Yankees can't do anything. So Yankees play today. I do not foresee us winning this game. Especially with, let's see who's on the mound. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't know with our hitting. Jordan Montgomery's on the mound versus Hyun-Jin Ryu. Jordan Montgomery versus Hyun-Jin Ryu. Monty's been good. I still don't foresee us pitching. I think Monty has a good game. I think Monty plays well. But the reason I say we lose this game is because Hyun-Jin Ryu is a very good pitcher. And I don't foresee us winning. He's a very good pitcher. I just don't foresee us winning against him, hitting against him very well. So the Mets won 5-1 on Saturday, and then they won 14-1 yesterday, absolutely dominating the Phillies. Just absolutely dominating them. DeGrom's been pitching amazing. Phillies had 1 run, 4 hits, 2 errors. The Phillies had literally the same style as the Yankees yesterday. 1 run, 4 hits, 2 errors. Mets had 14 runs, 17 hits, no errors. This is going to be very long. Nimmo went 3 for 6 with 2 runs and RBI. Conforto 3 for 4 with 3 runs. J.D. Davis 0 for 4. Rosario 0 for 0 with a run scored and a walk. Dom Smith 4 for 5 with 2 runs scored and 3 RBIs. Cano 0 for 4 with a run scored. Guillermo went 1 for 1 with a walk, with a run scored and 2 RBIs. Alonso went 3 for 5 with 2 run scores and 3 RBIs. McNeil went 1 for 3 with a hit, with a run scored and a walk and 1 RBI. Ramos went 1 for 5 with a run scored and an RBI. Jimenez went 1 for 5 with a run with 2 RBIs. DeGrom 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. Brad Brock 1 inning, no hits, no earned, 1 walk, no strikeouts. Shreve 1 inning, 1 hit, no earned, no walks, 2 strikeouts. I mean, you have 17 hits, you're going to win that game. I said the Mets win again today. A day game, 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I said they win again today. And when you get 17 hits, you can win a game. Same thing it shows with the Phillies. Their pitching didn't pitch great, but they only had 4 hits. They couldn't even compete that game. I know they scored 14 runs, and I'm not saying they would have won that game because their pitching was horrible, but their hitting didn't help them out at all. Their hitting didn't even give them a little bit of a boost. Okay, maybe we're not 14-1, maybe it's 14-6. The hitting did nothing. Islanders play tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Eastern Conference Finals, they win this series, they go to the Stanley Cup. I say they win this game. Steven Stamkos, they said they're out for the series with the Lightning. Probably their best player. Huge loss for them. Islanders should take advantage of that. Islanders, I say, win tonight's game. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that game is on. Then college football games. I was correct, I'm pretty sure, with all the games. Okay. All right. So I got Marshall game correct. They crushed them 59-0. I mean, what was I was watching that game. It was like 35-0 after the first half. It was crazy. 40-something. It was crazy. 59-0. Marshall beat Eastern Kentucky. Army won against Middle Tennessee 42-0. I got Marshall correct. I got Army correct. I got SMU correct. Texas State player might have made the catch of the year. Going up in the corner of the end zone, one-handed grab, brung it in. Unbelievable catch. I mean, that's already an early candidate for catch of the year, and we haven't even seen all the games be played yet. SMU won that game, got that correct. North Texas won that game, their game, got that correct. Memphis won their game, I got that correct. UTEP won their game, also got that correct. So I was undefeated, right? I got Marshall correct, 59-0. Army correct, 42-0. SMU correct, 31-24. North Texas correct, 57-31. 57-31, so I'm 4-0 there. Memphis, 37-24. I predicted that correct, 5. And SFA, or UTEP SFA, I had UTEP winning 24-14. They won 24-14. Didn't have them winning that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I went 6-0. I went 6-0. And today, BYU plays Navy, hoping to go 7-0, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be a lot of fun. I say Navy wins this game. Navy had an excellent year last year. Good team, good coach, good players against BYU, who's okay. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I say Navy gets this win. Going to be good. So I say Navy gets this win today. So hopefully I'm going 7-0 on my picks. That would be pretty good to kick off the NFL season. That would be amazing to kick off the college football season 7-0 on my picks. 6-0 so far. Hopefully we can go 7-0. So back to the Yankees. We had 4 hits. I mean, what can you expect? So Monty needs to pitch an absolute gem today. I'm expecting, he lets up 2 runs through 7 strong. We're not going to win the game if we're hitting like this. And it's putting up pressure on our pitchers. All of a sudden now, our pitchers have to throw 7-8 innings of no-run ball. All of a sudden, our pitchers can't let up 3 runs. It used to be, okay, our pitchers let up 3 runs. All right, we'll put up 6. Now, you pitch 7 strong innings, 1-run ball, we're going to lose. So, our hitting's horrible. Never thought I'd be saying that. Usually it's the pitching. Pitching hasn't been unbelievable. Pitching's been good, but not unbelievable. Hitting's been horrible. So, we can't seem to get things right. We're in a bad position right now. Don't really know what to say. I mean, I'm like a lot of other Yankees fans. I think I'm just very, very, I'm just in shock. I'm just really just speechless. I mean, the way we started off the season, there was literally chats about us possibly winning 50 games. And Judge was healthy, hitting amazing. Stan was healthy, hitting amazing. Everybody was healthy. Pitching was amazing. Everything was clicking. 8-1 start. Got to the point where you were like, geez, this team. When people thought that Dodgers were number 1 in the power rankings, everybody was like, oh, okay, the Yankees are now number 1. Yankees are almost falling out of the top 10 in the power rankings. So the Yankees got to get their act together, as we are not playing well at all. So the Yankees play today against the Blue Jays. I hope we can get the win, but I don't think we will. Hyun-Jin Ryu's pitching. He's a very good pitcher. Monty, I think, will pitch well. Here's the problem. Even if he pitches 2 runs, 7 innings, we're probably not going to win because we can't hit. Everything is just not working for us. Something's just not right. So, Yankees got to be better. Hopefully we can get the win today, though. But with all that being said, this is the end of the BSN podcast for today. I will see you all back here tomorrow. I've actually got a fantasy draft in just about an hour and a half from now. I got my final fantasy draft of the year. I do one league. I did one of my fantasy drafts 3 weeks ago. No, not 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, probably. Did one of those, 2 weeks ago. But, or maybe even just a week or 2 ago. I did one of those drafts. Now, about an hour and a half from now, I got another fantasy draft as well. So, but with all that being said, that is the end of the podcast. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Tomorrow I'll read you my other league's fantasy team that I'm just doing about soon. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. And, that's what I got for the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.